Hi Rajeev,
Hi.
thanks for being here. Uh, this idea of using the indigenous knowledge of people regarding local flora and fauna uh, in your vertical university, it's a wonderful idea. And have you been able to do this successfully and share it with other countries as well?
So in terms of what we found, the sort of most extraordinary asset, aside from the physical biodiversity that exists in the region, is this sort of immense body of knowledge that seldom gets registered with the academy, which is all this atomized knowledge about the environment, little particular knowledge about the movements of things, associational knowledge, and it's deeply tied to the landscape. So if you lose the landscape, you lose the indigenous knowledge. The KTK-Belt team right now is trying to develop an indigenous knowledge portal. So we're going to have, keeping with this idea of farmers as professors, we're going to have profile farmers who are going to talk about plants and the uses of plants. And we've decided on a video platform.
Okay.
So they will be speaking in Nepali, but it'll be subtitled in English, and so it can sort of for a dual audience. So that's one of the ways that we're trying to broadcast and also conserve, I suppose, the knowledge.
Document and conserve.
Right.
Okay. And this buying plots of land and using them as classrooms, as you've done in the villages. Of course, it's part of them are going to be in your vertical university, but you have other villages as well, right? Where you bought plots and you're using them as classrooms. So, have you had success? Have they been successful classrooms?
Yeah. So basically, it's the background of all of this is that there's incredible amounts of land grabbing happening.
Yeah.
So people with enormous amounts of capital buying land, turning it into plots, and then reselling it. What that does is it displaces the farmers. Secondly, it actually takes the land holding size and it shrinks it down so that the assemblage of those various shards of land will become very difficult. So one of our strategies is actually we create local learning grounds, which are non-profit Nepali organizations, so we're not on the board or anything. And then we actually buy the land or support the communities to buy the land and put it away in trust for those learning grounds. And what that does is it keeps a large piece of sort of semi-vulnerable land intact, and then that piece of land also functions as an open-air classroom. So we have a design team led by Priyanka Bista, and they are essentially trying to use design to activate the latent potential to teach, right? To take the kid out into the forest. Now, we're not designing any new curriculum or anything. Our thinking is that the Nepal curriculum itself is actually very enlightened and has, from the earliest stage, what is a plant and what is an ecosystem and all of that. And we're just trying to provide the physical landscape. So we've started by bringing kids, like let's say once a month, into the learning grounds, from the youngest to the elder kids, and then tying some part of the curriculum, working with the belt teachers, we call them, to then teach that to the children. So they develop also a love for the learning grounds. They feel that this is theirs. It's not something that's been land banked. It's their learning grounds and that they know about it. Because once they feel that knowledge connection, then they'll want to, I think, love and preserve it. So we're finding that model is actually successful, and it's actually something that the villagers, because of the posture of the land, because it's owned in perpetuity by everyone and it's open, sort of non-fenced, because of that, we're getting a lot of interest. People have even donated land to try to reconnect the forest matrix. So we feel like we're onto something. We are so far mainly concentrated in the Chure and a little bit in Koshitapu, but our most urgent need is to expand this up towards Songkhla and Bodhkola region.
And this in fact leads to what you said about making every child in Nepal feel that they are rich because they own all this, this biodiversity, this natural resources, it's all theirs. And so, although they are poor maybe financially, but they are rich in their heritage. So
absolutely. I mean, this whole, Nepal is classified as an LLDC, a landlocked, least developed country, and to me it seems a little bit absurd when you're talking about, you look at Nepal's just its freshwater resources after Brazil and Venezuela. I think it's the third richest in the world. it's because of the compression of the Himalayas, it goes from tropical plains at the Indian border to subalpine medieval habitat types. I think something like 118 forest types. And it's not just vertical. If you go east, west, you see different biodiversity, even on the same strata at the same elevation. So it's quite extraordinarily endowed. And then you add to that the indigenous knowledge, you add to that the indigenous languages, you add to that the different climates and all of this, right, culture and cuisine and all of these things. And so I think that what we're trying to say is also that the country has an amazing opportunity to build its identity out of biocultural diversity, and that is maybe a way forward for in terms of livelihood, in terms of conservation, education, our three priorities. So the project lends itself to ecotourism as well, and we're looking at some of that, but I think our main focus is internal. Foreigners come to Nepal, they climb the Himalayas, and Nepali children don't ever get those opportunities. So we want, Nepali girl can walk and see the 6,700 flowering plants and touch them, and from the plains all the way up. And so we're really committed to that idea of the vertical university belongs to everyone, but it belongs to the whole biotic community as well. It's not just people-centered. So the vertical university will be used by pangolin and elephants and these so-called walking trees who need to go like a climate escalator. So we're trying to change the thinking towards that, and I think we're in the right region for it. That's our dream, and not just children. Also, from a gender element, we find that for women as well, this university is going to be very important. And women tend to have less mobility due to social discrimination, and they're the ones who are most adamant about having the learning grounds in their sort of vicinity. So, and we insist also on the women leadership across. So we have a co-director model of the learning grounds. So we're excited about getting there, and the journey is kind of just starting, I think.
Well, we wish you all the best, and I think a lot of countries can learn a lot from your model. So thank you so much, Rajeev.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.